Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme: Kieran Tierney hoping to shine for Celtic against Bayern Munich, Dundee United continue their interviews for a new manager, and Keeler Dunn signs a new deal with Ross County. Yeah, just a few of the topics we'll be chatting about on this Halloween night. In the studio with me, looking rather spooky at the moment, is Alan Ruff, and alongside him, well, someone that won't scare too many people tonight, hopefully, Gordon Smith. He's our bookroom guest this evening. OK, let's have a look at the morning papers, the back page headlines for you in the sports section. The Daily Record, first of all, and this focuses on the new 6-year deal signed by Kieran Tierney at Celtic. There's a strong hint that Malky McKay might have his eye on the Scotland job, and Brendan Rodgers, they're just talking about a win doesn't drive Brendan. Obviously, it's a long-term view he's talking about, although a win over Bayern Munich would be nice for the Celtic manager. The Sun, smile, boss, I'm staying. Kieran Tierney with a 6-year deal. And a great line there from one of my favourite European players, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who says, "We don't need Lewandowski for you. Had Bayern Munich been playing Real Madrid, they might have risked him." And also there's a little sidebar there, United target Shaba Laszlo. In the Mail, it's Tierney is the real deal. And of course, another reference there from Mark Allen to the backroom staff that he's employed for scouting at Rangers, and also he says winning the title as soon as possible for Rangers is the priority. And the Courier has Laszlo linked with Tangerine's move. Well, he may well have been interviewed for it. Whether he gets it or not is another matter. We'll talk about that a little later on in the programme. Of course, start of the programme not too far away from kick-off at Celtic Park, and the Celtic fans will be buoyant after the news of Kieran Tierney's 6-year contract. But the most important thing is concentrating on trying to topple a team that only in 2013 were lifting the Champions League trophy aloft. Jupp Heynckes is in charge. Here's what Brendan Rodgers makes of the opposition tonight.
We're always having to look to find a way to be competitive and look to see if we can get a result. Of course, it's like it is for most teams. You know, when you play away against Bayern Munich, it's very tough. However, there was moments in the game, in particular the second half, where you could see our confidence and belief in how we were playing come through, and that allowed us to then be much more like ourselves. So, but we're playing at home. We always, you know, love to play here, the backing of the support. And looking to then, like I say, find a way to get a result.
Sometimes I think European clubs who are maybe not used to Celtic Park can be a little bit spooked, and if you'll pardon the pun, on a night like tonight. But I don't think, you know, former Champions League winners and big sides usually freeze. You know, I mean, I think Barcelona were beaten because there was a game plan. I don't think they froze on the night, Gordon, and I don't think Bayern Munich will do that.
I don't think they will either, but it's a big advantage to Celtic that they are without two of their major players, Müller and Lewandowski, both being out. If you look at the Bayern Munich squad, Peter, it's not really a big squad. They're quite limited in terms of number of players they have in their first team. And you've only got the only cover they've got would maybe be as a front man is Pantovic, who plays there. Hardly ever gets a game, comes in now and again. And although he's played for Serbia, he's a decent player, he's a young player, and therefore you wonder how they're going to play the game. They were very impressive in the first leg, I have to say that, against Celtic. The first tie, not the first leg, the previous game. They were outstanding. They actually controlled the game. And they even took their foot off the gas, I thought, a little bit when they were 3-0 up. Yeah. But I think tonight Celtic get a bigger boost. That's the difference to Celtic Park. The home team get the big boost. I don't think it'll really put the opposition off too much, but I think Celtic got a chance tonight.
I don't think it'll make the slightest bit of difference, Lewandowski or Müller being out, Ruffy. At their level, I just think, you know, when Brendan Rodgers talked about the positives of being able to pass the ball, I agree with Gordon. The horse had bolted by then. They just took their foot off the gas.
Yeah, I thought they were impressive from start to finish. I thought the wide players were fantastic, and I think that night Celtic got a bit of a lesson. You know, they were fortunate it was only 3. Yeah, they did come into the game. They had a couple of shots late on in the game. But if you look at the picture of the whole game, they were totally and utterly outclassed. You can't get away from that. So tonight, I would be expecting Celtic to compete a lot more. It's at home, big support behind them. They've shown in the past that they can compete at home. My main worry is thinking of the German team last year. Borussia Mönchengladbach totally and utterly outplayed them at home and get 1-2-0. If they give Bayern Munich that kind of possession, they'll get hurt again. But I'm a wee bit like Gordon. I think tonight I'm expecting something better than what we've seen so far at home.
Yeah, I might get my 1982 World Cup sticker album out, Gordon, and just rip up Karl-Heinz Rummenigge's card. Every time he opens his mouth, he annoys the life out of me. You know, if he's not wanting clubs excluded from the Champions League and just the rich clubs, you know. But on this point, I think he does have a point. You know, if it had been Real Madrid, Bayern Munich are at a level that they would have said to Lewandowski, look, put yourself out there.
Absolutely, I think you're probably right. But it's a little bit of an insult, and it can only be a boost, if anything, for Celtic. The fact that he's come out and said something like that, it gives him a little bit of an incentive, motivation to go and do something. He was a great player, I have to say that. He was a tremendous player.
Forgive me for this. Did you? I know you played against him. Did you ever meet him at one of these UEFA meetings?
No, never ever met him. No, the only German person I got quite friendly with was Franz Beckenbauer. Yeah. He was in the meetings, but Karl-Heinz Rummenigge was more to do with the club side of things rather than being involved with UEFA or FIFA itself. Yeah,
okay. Listen, there's a really good bit of news for Celtic fans, depending on which way you look at it. But Kieran Tierney signed a new 6-year deal, and there will be 17 scouts in the stands tonight watching not only Tierney but Moussa Dembele. But to get this young man on a new contract is a superb bit of business by Celtic, and Tierney himself, as he freely admits, is a man signing on for his boyhood heroes. Great bit of business by Celtic, Ruffy, and I think if we're going to be slightly cynical about it, it just means that Celtic are going to be rewarded when the big bucks come in.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised about it because he just signed a contract last year. I think it was for 3 or 4 years, so I know it's great reading. 6 years, a young player. I think he's the most improved Scottish player I've seen for a long, long time. He's just done everything right. But I think we would all agree if Kieran Tierney's at Celtic in the next 2 years, I'd be gobsmacked.
Are you stretching it to 2, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think he'd probably think he should stay another year. But all credit to him, he's got a great deal. I'm sure his wages will have been up to some of the other players at the club, which is good. He deserves it. But, you know, I think he's just too good. I would go as far to say he's too good for Celtic.
He's probably into the higher wage category now at the club. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you wonder whether the club his agents who are doing the deal for him have put in some sort of clause in it as well, depending on how much he's sold for, how much money he gets from the deal, all that thing. I'd imagine they might have done that in order for him to tie him up for that long. But, I mean, to be fair, even if he gets to the end of his contract, Peter, I think he's 26, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, he's still young. You've still got your key years ahead of you. And I don't think we'll see the 6 years through. I'm not Ruffy. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He'll be gone. But he might think it's best to stay for a couple of years. But the point is, you never know how somebody's going to develop. It could be a case of when you're this age, you're at your peak in terms of because everybody sees the potential you've got. Yeah. Where when you're a bit older and you're not improved any, even if he's the same player at 23, they might think he's not going to get any better, whereas at this stage, they might think he's even going to go higher and become world class.
Yeah, if he's still there in 6 years, Gordon, I'm buying you a new car. I want you to get to places in luxury. Okay.
I'm recording this now.
Yeah, listen, so am I. I was actually going to limit it to 6 months, but I thought I'll hedge my bets. Okay, let's look at the fixtures for Tuesday night in the Champions League. Basel against CSKA Moscow, Man United against Benfica, Celtic Bayern Munich, PSG against Anderlecht, and also Atletico Madrid Karabag, Roma Chelsea, Olympiacos against Barcelona, and Sporting Lisbon against Juventus. And depending on the way that the results are going tonight and tomorrow, some clubs could qualify in match day 4. Man United, Basel, PSG, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Barcelona, Juventus, Man City, Besiktas, Tottenham Hotspur and Real Madrid could all qualify depending on the permutations in the results. So good luck to Celtic. We'll reflect on that game on tomorrow night's programme. Join us after the break for more football chat. It's that Gary McAllister clue that gave it away, guys. He played in the school right next to mine, so there was no way I was going to get it wrong. Okay, did you get 1964? I thought you might have got it, Ruffy, with the Beach Boys, but it's another matter. Let's look at the Wednesday night fixtures in the Champions League. Lots of good games. Besiktas against Monaco is there. Oh, Liverpool Maribor, Seville against Spartak Moscow, Napoli Man City, Shakhtar Donetsk against Feyenoord, and there it is, Besiktas against Monaco, Porto Leipzig, Borussia Dortmund against Apoel Nicosia, and Tottenham against Real Madrid. And the reason why I emphasise Tottenham against Real Madrid, would you believe that suddenly Zinedine Zidane finds himself under pressure, Ruffy, because of the league for him?
Well, it's not the first time it's happened over there. I mean, people have won cups and got sacked the next day. So, I mean, he knows the score. I think anybody that takes that job, the demands in that club from not only the owners but for the supporters as well, it's win-win. And win and win and keep winning.
It's amazing when you consider how much of a legend he is for them as well. Probably, you know, up there as one of the greatest players I've ever had at the club. And yet you're right, but it's a results business. I mean, everybody is under pressure, regardless of what you've ever done as a player. You're under pressure if you can't do it as a manager. And they have been getting some bad results, haven't they?
Yeah, I think he makes it into my top 10 world players of all time. I think he makes it in there. Is he in yours, Gordon?
I think so. I think I did have him in there as one of my top 10. I think he was, yeah.
Yeah. Ruffy, is he in yours?
Only if he keeps ahead.
Eh? Yeah. I knew I knew you'd bring that up. Only you could focus on the negative. And amazingly, you know, when you think about the group, Tottenham, a huge scalp. You wouldn't rule it out them taking Real Madrid at Wembley because of the form they've been in of late.
Well, it's going to be a cracking game. I mean, I think looking at it, I was looking at all the games, and I think that would be the one I'll watch.
Oh, it's a stonewall certainty. I mean, you can't watch anything else.
No. And the big factor is Harry Kane going to make it? Okay, he didn't play at the weekend. I don't know whether they'll just maybe keeping him for this game, but I think they will definitely want Kane to be available for this one because he is a crucial element in Tottenham and how they play, and what their chances are of winning that game will depend if he's going to be okay. Yeah,
I was just going to say to you, Ruffy, if you were looking at all the Wednesday night fixtures and you were trying to monitor the least amount of people who are actually going to watch one, I would hazard a guess that Besiktas Monaco is up there. The rest of them have got not a bad fan base, but Besiktas Monaco, anybody who hits the red button on that one needs to have a long hard look at themselves. I mean, it's Tottenham Real Madrid all day long, surely.
Yeah, it is in that one, but you know, the Turkish fans, you know, they love their European football, they love their teams to be successful. They're not obviously one of the big Turkish sides, but you're right, you know, Tottenham's the game.
Yep, absolutely. I'm sure somebody will will tweet and that it's not, then they're going to watch Besiktas against Monaco. Hey, it's a democracy. You're free to watch what you want. We'll switch our attention from Champions League to Malky McKay. Of course, we had a little bit from Malky yesterday on the programme. He's named 8 players that have a chance to start by getting their first cap for Scotland. There's a number of Aberdeen players in there. And here's that squad that he mentioned. Suddenly the headlines in the back pages today, Ruffy, are that maybe he's got one eye on this job. He might be interested in becoming the Scotland manager. I must admit, I can understand why he would suggest that, quite simply because how do you gauge your success as, you know, in his current role? How do you gauge success? I mean, you're almost 4 years where people will say, well, what have you done?
Yeah, and I think from his point of view, he's obviously been in his new post, and by all accounts, what we're reading is not going particularly well. He's batting his head against a brick wall with some of the things he's coming up with. A lot of the clubs are not getting into bed with him and going in the way he wants to go. So with that in his back of his mind, he'll be saying to himself, look, I've been given a chance here. You know, I know it's only a game. And I read this morning all the changes he's made. He's moving away from the training facilities. He's moving through to Edinburgh. He's changing the training facilities. Everything he's saying is positive to somebody who really wants this job. And I think if he'll obviously enjoy the game against Holland. And if he gets a decent result, he'll be really looking forward to the next one. Yeah,
well, I mean, he's only in charge for the friendly. Apparently, they're going to wait a few months before they announce who's going to become the manager. But quite simply, let's be blunt about it. Malky had been out, couldn't get into a job. Managed to land this job, Gordon, and when Ruffy said that statement only 30 seconds ago, it reminded me of the day I was sitting with the assembled journalists when you got your job as the SFA Chief Executive, and I said to you, do you not think this job you'll just eventually be worn down by the dinosaurs roaming the corridors? And you were filled with enthusiasm until eventually they wore you down.
They wore me down, exactly. No, I think there is a degree of that. The thing about it is, I mean, why he comes into contention for the job now, I think, is because he actually obviously impressed the people at the SFA to appoint him as the football director there as well, development. And I think from that point of view, then they must like him. He's trying to do a job there, and therefore they'll be looking at the total situation. It could go back to the days, we know the days of Andy Roxburgh when he actually did both jobs as well. Yeah. He was in charge of football development and the manager of the international team at the same time.
Do you think he can do it?
So they might think, I think he's a bright guy, I think he could do it, because let's be honest, you get very little time devoted to international manager in terms of the amount of games there are. And the rest of the time he's doing his job. He'll be watching other games and watching players anyway. That's obviously why he's changed the squad about in terms of what his opinion is. And he's managed that at a good level, probably even a higher level than Andy Roxburgh had managed that even club level. He's been there. So I think he comes into the category of as being a candidate. I think there are other people out there maybe who have got a better CV, but nevertheless, I think he's there. In terms of the squad he's picked, he's made a few changes. I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that he's bringing in a measure of fairness for the Scottish game, more Scottish-based players than there have been under Gordon Strachan, because mainly it was just Celtic before, but now he's bringing in, like, he's got Hearts players in there, even a Rangers player for the first time in a long time, Ryan Jack, although he was Aberdeen, and I don't know how he'll be accepted too well if he's ever playing for Scotland up at Pittodrie. I don't know if he'll get well received up there, but the thing is, he's got a number of Aberdeen players, so he's trying to make changes, and it'll be interesting to see. It'll be down to the results as well. He'll need to get a decent result and a performance against Holland in order to keep his name in there as a candidate.
Yeah, and this is what he had to say about the new players coming into the squad.
It is a chance for players to make their mark now. We have got that longer lead into the Euro 2020 qualifiers, which we absolutely want to make sure that we qualify for. Where there's games going to be at Hampden, so we've got to make sure that that we're there, and to give us the best chance of that means that a group have to now come together and play together regularly over the next 9 months before we go into that September qualifier. So I think it gives people the chance to stake their claim. It also gives players that are you know, fundamentally part of the group to become leaders, to step up and become leaders now.
I wouldn't be against him getting it. I think he's got a good CV, as Gordon mentioned, Ruffy.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think he's completely focused. He definitely wants to get into the top end of the game again. You know, I'm sure the position that he's in can be replaced. There's a lot of guys out there could take over the remit that he's got. I think it's good.
Or he could do both.
I don't know. I think that would be... Well, you could, yeah. I'm not saying he couldn't, but I think if you're the manager, you'd want to be completely and utterly focused on what you're doing, travelling about, looking at players, that kind of thing. The good thing for me is he's doing something that I thought we should have been doing a long time ago, is giving young players games and friendlies. You're never going to know at what level they're at till you actually see them pulling on that jersey. And coming up against Holland, I know they'll be probably experimenting as well, but certainly give you an idea of the guys that we're looking at week in, week out at club level, if they can make that step up. You know, we're talking about the young boy McGinn at Hibs, and we all know he's a right good player, but would he be a good player playing consistently at that level, international level? These are things we've got to find out, and it's good that the next game's now for 9 months away, because obviously you're going to organise some more friendlies, and let's see them all playing. Centre halves is a big one. You know, we really need to find... Well, obviously we've got Charlie Mulgrew there and Berra there, but
William
we need
Cooper
to find...
might have a shout.
But we need to have another two. We need to have... We can't just rely on these two all the time. We need to see Cooper. All right, Hanlon's in it as well. Let's see what they can do at that level.
Listen, maybe, you know, John Suter might be able to make that move. Maybe he might pose a question. Maybe one of the younger ones suddenly just develops to an extent over the next year where he's thrust into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got good young players. You've got McKenna at Aberdeen as well.
Yep.
Young McCrory's coming through at Rangers. I think that's right, Henry as well. The potential's there, and as you say, Suter's there as well. So I think from that point of view, we need to see the development at league level first, and then if they're coming on and you think they're really establishing themselves.
But when we come to that first game in the European Championship, it couldn't be trial. It couldn't be trial and error. It has to be a settled back four. Yeah. It has to be made up our mind. These are the guys, rather than chopping and changing as we usually do at the beginning of a campaign.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It seems to have got Ruffy's back up there. He should have seen his face there talking about it. Well, fingers crossed. Whoever the manager is, that he has that settled side that Ruffy is looking for. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk Rangers. Of course, Mark Allen, the director of football, has started to put things together in the background to try and get things together. We still await the name of the Rangers manager who's going to have to work alongside him as well. We'll talk Dundee United there, search for a manager, and we'll also hear from Owen Coyle as he gives one of his players a new deal. That's all to come after this quick teaser question. We'll be back with you. Yeah, The Wolf of Wall Street, one of your favourites, Ruffy. I can understand why. It's a completely mental movie. 2013, did you get it? Let's switch our attention from the international football we're talking about to club football. Rangers actually announced Aidan Wilson signed a new deal until the summer of 2020, so getting some of the youngsters on slightly longer deals. What do you make of Mark Allen and what he's trying to do now? He's announced his team of scouts in there. Billy McLaren's in there, John Brown also. So he's trying to get the structure in place. He did mention that the priority, first and foremost, for Rangers is try and wrestle the title away from Celtic as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, I mean you're always trying to win the league. That's if you're Rangers, you're competing for league titles without doubt. That is a priority. But the thing is about it is it's taken a wee while to put a scouting structure in place. They've only just that's just happened now. Mark Allen, there was already when I went in there as director of football, there was already a scouting structure in place, and then that sort of diminished and disappeared. John Brown was actually one of the scouts then, so he's come back into a position. And it's something that is required at that level, because if you're going to go out there and find players, you can't have the manager just deciding who's coming in. You've got to have people given. Not only there's two things have to be. You have to see the player, You have to be watching them and you have to do a report on them. And then the next thing, obviously, the other side of it is also to have all the stats, which are very, very crucial nowadays. That's what most clubs, most of the big clubs go on that, Peter. They have statistics on the players to decide, who runs the most, who tackles the most, who wins their challenges, all that type of thing. And that's why you need to have a structure in place. And it's taken Rangers a little while to sort that out, but it eventually looks like it's happening now.
Yeah, I think it's something that has to be done. I think every club needs to identify good young players. It looks as if obviously Rangers are going to go and watch, I think John's remit is Scotland. He'll go to all the games and identify, players that he thinks would be worthy of pulling on a Rangers jersey. Would they be able to handle obviously the pressure of playing with Rangers, all that kind of thing. And obviously down in England as well. So, I mean, it has to start somewhere. You have to start blooding these youngsters very early, because the main thing that's been coming out of Rangers are a lot of the players that go to Rangers don't know what it's all about. And we've talked about it on numerous occasions. Gordon has witnessed playing in front of 50, 60,000 people as a young player. There's not a lot of youngsters can handle that kind of thing. That's some of the things you've got to look into. Have they got the temperament to be thrown into a game, and can they handle it? Not. I mean, obviously, how good they are at the football is, and you're going to bring them anyway. But these other things come into consideration.
Yeah, at the highest level, the biggest thing is the psychology and being able to handle the situation. Rather than, ability and fitness and all that are very important, but it's generally to play at that level. It's all about psychology. It's all about the mentality.
Yeah. Do you think there's a rush that's needed on Rangers trying to get the manager in quickly? I mean, obviously, the chat is that Derek McInnes should be the target. If they pay the compensation, they get their man, unless they come out with a name out of left field that suddenly is paraded as the manager. They've got Partick and Hamilton and Dundee, and then it's a double header against Aberdeen. So you've got 3 games before.
Yeah, big game.
Potentially. Yeah,
I think you're right, and they've got a week off. Obviously, in a week's time is the international weekend again, and there's no games, so that gives them a little bit of a break. They've got 1 game in the next fortnight, and Graham Murty's already done well. They might be quite relaxed to say, right, give him another shot, give him another game, because he's a good caretaker. Even if Graham Murty himself has said, I don't want the job permanently. I like doing what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So he's not a candidate. But I think they have to go out and get the right person rather than do it quickly. It's a question of doing their research and doing their interviews, or if they have to do that, and speaking to them, because you want to. Even though people sometimes think, why do you need to interview people for a manager's job? I think you do, in respect to, you need to find out what they've got in mind, what their targets are. They'll also want to interview the board, the person that gets the job, to actually ask, what's the resources here? How much money have I got to spend? Can I go and buy this? Can I play? Have I got to develop my own players? That type of thing. So there's important points from both sides.
If the right person wasn't available just now, can Rangers afford to wait till the end of the season until the right player comes available and leave Graham Murty in charge?
Right manager comes available, you mean?
Yeah.
I think they would want to have somebody in before then. I'll tell you why. Because they want them to have a chance to actually manage the team and determine how the football's played, how he does, how certain players fit in, so that even by the time the end of the season comes, that person knows then the changes that are required, where each player is and who's good enough for the way he wants to play.
I think it would show a complete lack of ambition if they didn't get somebody in quickly, because at this moment there are Rangers fans out there who are looking and saying, wait a minute, not that far away from Aberdeen or Celtic. Maybe this manager could galvanise this squad and get more out of them than Pedro Caixinha was able to do. Listen, on the evidence of the weekend game against Hearts, Graham Murty's able to get more out of them than Pedro Caixinha. So I think the priority is to get someone in and start building the way Mark Allen is behind the scenes as well. And it's something that Dundee United are having to do, because they're interviewing managers, some that we are aware of, some that probably we're not going to be aware of. Shaba Laszlo is one alongside John Hughes. That's been mentioned for this. I'm sure Jim McIntyre eventually will get a shout to chat about it. Laszlo's an interesting one, Ruffy, because at Hearts, amid the carnage of Vladimir Romanov, he still managed to get some good results along the way. And you look back at his record, I think Hearts managed to finish 3rd in the league. in that season. They were in European football.
Yeah, and he's got a reasonable record with the teams he's been with in Lithuania. You know, so he wasn't one of the sort of out of left field managers that Hearts have had. I mean, some of them were coming away with some ridiculous statements. He wasn't one of them. You know, he was pretty sensible. So yeah, I'm sure if he goes to the interview and he ticks the right boxes, he won't be far away. But again, I think it's somebody, we're talking about the Rangers job, but I think it's somebody for Dundee United that knows what Dundee United's about. You know, John Hughes has already had an interview when he was at Inverness. You know, I don't know why he never took it, but I would say he's up there as well. All the sort of appointments seem to be there, staring you right in the face, but nobody wants to actually say, right, let's do it, let's see what else is out there, which is fair enough. I mean, you've got to be seen to be. But, I mean, it'd be a new thing if somebody said, right, he's the man, let's have him.
But I think there's a double element to Dundee United that's slightly different from the Rangers job. The Rangers job, you know, if you're Derek McInnes, you're walking in there and saying, okay, wait a minute, how much money, you know, have I got here to do this? I think the guy who is chatting about the Dundee United job is twofold. He's got to analyse, first of all, okay, how much money have I got? I know the remit is just win the league and that's it.
Yeah.
But I think he's got to also sit back in a room on his own at one point and think, can I work with the board?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But I think that they've already had a bit of a spend, Dundee United, obviously in the summer. They brought in a few players, didn't they? And they're not out of things yet. I think that what they'll be looking for and the person they'll be trying to bring in is someone not just to can work with the board, but somebody who can get more out of players than even their value. Somebody who can actually do things with limited resources. And I think that's what they're looking for, and I think that's why Laszlo did that at Hearts. I thought he did a good job there, actually. Yeah. John Hughes has done it in the past, and I think obviously the next one, Jim McIntyre's another candidate, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm smiling, Gordon, because you've painted a lovely picture there of potentially what the player has to do, and for me it just boils down to, no, can he work with the board? Because quite simply, Jackie McNamara, from there onwards, you can draw a line and say, there's where that club started to go. Because quite simply, they decided to sell their best players and then bring in, you know, mediocre or younger and inexperienced players to try and achieve the same results. And it wasn't happening. And that was all taken as a decision at boardroom level.
Yeah, I think that's something obviously somebody would have to consider. But I think when you're out of a job and you've been out of a job for so long and you're on that merry-go-round and you get a chance, sometimes you have to shelf some of these things, you know, and obviously you're going to bring it up with the meeting, but I think sometimes to get back in, and Dundee United is a good club, you would want to get back in it.
Okay. Nottingham Forest taking a wee look at Lewis Morgan. I think there'll be more than a few clubs, including Nottingham Forest, taking a look at Lewis Morgan. That was another little story that caught my eye this morning.
Definitely, yeah, I think so. I think that obviously they've got the connections in Scotland, Forest, because of the manager was up here, Matt Warburton. So I think they'll be looking at him. I think he's probably his best bet maybe is to go first to the Championship and play there, because it's a good level, the English Championship as well. And I think that that's the next stage, because he's playing like Championship football in Scotland. So therefore, I don't think he can go right immediately into the Premiership and get anywhere near a first team. So I think he's got to go down there. And if he goes down there, I think he can play. He's a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. Louis Longridge moves to Falkirk on an emergency loan at Ruffy for 2 months. I'm not sure I buy into the emergency loan stuff for outfield players, but nevertheless, he scored for Accies over the last couple of months. Useful player, maybe a chance to get regular football.
Yeah, and I think he's been out on loan a couple of times. But yeah, he's just looking for a team that he's going to get a game, and the more games he gets, he'll be able to show obviously the club what they're missing, and or if they don't want him, he can obviously stay at Falkirk. But no, I think he's anytime you see him, I mean, he's always worth a goal or two.
Okay, we're going to hear from Owen Coyle in the next part of the programme. We're going to talk a little bit about Champions League record breakers and whether Messi and Ronaldo can break a few more records. And also, I think I might have found what I'm going to buy Gordon Smith and Alan Rough for Christmas. I've been putting a lot of thought into it, as you can imagine, but last night I thought to myself, this is going to be the perfect Christmas present. I'll reveal it all to you after this quick break and our last teaser of the evening. Trying to think of all those Merseyside Cup finals, Ruffy. It's so difficult. But 1986 was the year. How did you fare with that one? OK, we are going to concentrate again on another club, just signing up one of the youngsters on a new deal. This time, Davis Keeler Dunn has signed a new deal with Ross County, and Owen Coyle well pleased to get him on that new deal.
Well, it's very important because he was out of contract in the summer, and you know, it could have been that, you know, had it expired, he could have left for a nominal and a minimal amount, and as a football club, obviously from a business perspective, it's great business for the football club, but equally the very important thing, it's the right place for Davis to grow and develop. He's 19 years of age. I think if he keeps on improving the way he has, then, you know, he'll be certainly catching the attention of Scotland with regard to the under-21 squad, and from then obviously we know that the big clubs have already been watching him anyway, so I think it's just a great bit of business all round for everybody involved.
Yeah, this is the way football's going now, Ruffy, where clubs have to look at some of the potential in players and say, OK, if we can get them on to 2020, which is Davis Keeler Dunn's extension, then you get rewarded if somebody comes and snaps them up.
Yeah, I think you have to be more aware than that. I think there's a few clubs been caught out with young players, you know, letting their contracts run out, you know, and being aware of how they can progress. So, yeah, they've identified this young lad. I think any time we've seen him recently, he's been always at the forefront of goals or assists or whatever. But I think teams like Ross County and Partick Thistle and Kilmarnock, they need to be solid for 3 or 4 years. They need to try and keep the nucleus of a team on 3-year deals, you know, and if you can do that and keep them all together, you'll get the rewards at the end.
Yeah, and I think Keeler Dunn is the first to admit that signing that deal was all about the persuasive nature of the manager, Owen Coyle.
As soon as he walked in, that's when I knew. Yeah, every day in training, he's just always saying, look, always when you get in the final third, go and do your stuff, get shots where you get crosses in the box, just be your positive self and go and do well. And even when we train and all the boys together, we just feel one big group, and we feel there's massive things to come. So I'm just buzzing every day. Every day I just want to keep doing what I'm doing.
Wee bit too excited for me there, Gordon, to be honest with you, on this new deal. He looks as if he's about to spontaneously combust about this new deal, and he wants to play football every day.
Absolutely, but it's great to see that enthusiasm. I mean, obviously, he's enjoying the club, because whenever you make your debut, you know, you feel particularly, I think you feel a great allegiance to them, don't you, the club? Because, you know, you think, I've got my start here, this manager, especially he'll be chuffed as well that somebody's come in with a track record of Owen Coyle as well, and sees it in him already and sees his potential, and you know, he'll be getting a bit more money than maybe, he'll not be a big earner, because nobody in Ross County is a big earner, that's for sure. Yeah. But he's probably as well off as he's been. Well,
you know, you say that, but I think they're having to pay over the odds to get people there in the first place, and maybe keep them there too.
Well, there might be.
Roy McGregor's put his hand in his pocket.
Well, he does. Roy McGregor has been a great chairman for them, there's no doubt about that. He has funded the club to a great degree, and I think maybe, but I don't think at that age, a young kid, though he's probably had a big increase from what he's been on. Yeah. But the main thing from that, and I agree with it totally, you don't pay the young kids good money until they do get established, because you've got to create the incentive, haven't you? Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was talking about, you know, what I was going to get you guys for Christmas. I just thought last night, I thought, I've got to get you the Burnley-Newcastle game on DVD. I mean, it's just a great chance for you to wind down at Christmas. You know, when if you're too high and you're getting too excitable, like Davis Keeler Dunn, I might get it for him as well, because that would get football stopped, Ruffy. It was terrible, terrible.
I'm going to pick up something here that you're not a big fan of, a lot of English games. Because I know you like watching a lot of football, and you've been watching some horror shows recently.
I mean, I'm now at the point, I'm actually thinking, you know, of going out on Mondays.
Well, fun enough, I went out last night and I had no problem at all about avoiding that game. I knew it was on, but I never thought, oh, I'm sorry to be missing it, because it wasn't a game myself that I actually felt I wanted to watch. And there are quite a lot of games like that in the Premiership in England, without doubt. Yeah, OK. Now, here's a point. Jose Mourinho's had a pop at the United fans. Now, he had a pop at them for maybe they're not being as enthusiastic as they should be about Lukaku, but he's also had a go at them because of their 1-0 win over Tottenham, because he's writing that he hopes you enjoy the game more than some of you did against Tottenham. This is, of course, in the Champions League against Benfica.
I wonder what United fans are looking for. Are they looking for a harping back to the wingers and non-stop attacking under Fergie? Are they looking for a notion that's just not there in the modern day football? Or are they maybe being overshadowed by what's happening at Manchester City? When Van Gaal was there, they couldn't keep Waynes out of a close as far as the back door for stopping people scoring goals.
Yeah.
And now he's keeping clean sheets. They're winning games. They're in with a chance of the title. What more do they want?
I think the main thing about it is Manchester United have got a reputation for a style of football, Peter. And I think Jose's a kind of defensive type manager, and he puts his team out first and foremost to play it tight, not giving anything away. And I don't think the fans particularly like that. They want success, but they also want success. Man United fans, any ones that I've ever spoken to, always want success with a certain style of play. And they're not getting that, and they're annoyed about it. That's why I think it'll be important if Ibrahimovic comes back before Christmas, as he's meant to be doing. I think that'll be a big factor for him, because at least he is an exciting player. He's a talent. He does things. So that's what the Man United fans are used to, and that's what they want to see.
I think he's accelerated their expectation of winning the title. From the trophies they won last season to suddenly now they're in the running again, Ruffy.
Yeah, I agree with Gordon to a certain extent. I think it's the success that they demand, and I think they're particularly nervous at what they're seeing. They're looking good, but I think the fear of not winning anything is there in the background. And you're right, if you're going out and it's 1-0, 1-0, 1-0,
yeah,
you're going to be saying, okay, we're doing okay just now, but in the long term, is this going to sustain us? We want to win games comfortably, and I think they're sitting there enjoying what they're seeing, but at the back of their minds they're nervous of everything that
they're very demanding. They are paying big money. I mean, season tickets, all that sort of thing. There's a big demand for tickets, so these people feel as if they are the centre of the Man United team. We're the ones. We support this team, and we've followed this team for years, even during the bad days. They want to see good football, and they want to see players who actually offer a little bit different. And Jose doesn't go down that line at times. He just wants people who are efficient rather than brilliant.
Yep, well, there you are. Do you want winning football, or do you want the Harlem Globetrotters? It's up to you, United fans. Will they get good football at Everton if Sam Allardyce is the boss?
No, I think you have to spend another 150 million, I think, because the ones that have been brought in just aren't doing it. But for me, Allardyce is a manager who goes to clubs and saves them getting relegated, and I don't think Everton should be in that position. So if he does go there and he moves them up to, say, middle table, it's always something they can build on.
We've seen lots of times it is a true fact. A manager comes in, Peter, and it all changes. Even with the same group of players, we've seen it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, just in terms of how establish them, what the sort of system is, the players react differently to it, and as I say, he might just get it going again, because there was obviously a problem there before, and I think that the players maybe needed somebody else to come in and turn it around.
I think he's got an unfair rap, Sam Allardyce. I think sometimes, it's the players you have available. It's what we were talking about, a few months ago on the programme when Marcello Lippi was asked, what's your style of football? He says, it depends on the players I have available, what my style is. And, he'll certainly keep the Everton back door locked. First of all, they'll know exactly what they have to do. Just one thing to finish, guys. FIFA are looking at expanding the Club World Cup. Now, I think they're on a collision course with UEFA on this one. They're talking about 24 teams from June 2021, Gordon. I don't think too many people will be happy with that, because the football calendar looks congested as it is.
It is, especially in the Club World Cup would be involving the teams who are successful. And when you're successful, you play more games. So I agree with you. I think it's far too many, and I don't think I can't see UEFA, and down to what happens with UEFA. They are the main players here. That's who they want in this. And if they don't agree to it, I don't see this happening. The
only thing I can see coming up, Ruffy, is some kind of either breakaway or some kind of restructure of the European game because of all the unrest that's going on. There's no smoke without fire, with our old friend at the top of the programme, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, with all the elite. I can see clubs starting to get even more restless when it comes to forming some other kind of structure, some other kind of league.
Well, I think that's why it's so important that you have a representative on this board. I think Peter Lawwell's on it with Celtic, and if you're on the board, you can actually see what's happening, and then you can maybe get your own wee sort of a gang together and try and scupper them. But certainly if they big teams want to break away, you'd have to do something really good to stop them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, we've discussed Christmas presents, we've discussed all sorts of football on the programme. Tomorrow on the programme we'll hear from Brendan Rodgers and a number of players involved in this Champions League match, which is well underway as we speak. So you can join us tomorrow, whether there are happy Celtic fans or fans just reflecting on playing against one of the giants. Thanks very much to Gordon Smith for joining us as our boot room guest, usually on a Monday, but he moved to a Tuesday because, as ever, he likes to be with Ruffy and myself on a very scary night. It is, of course, Halloween after all. Enjoy yourself out there. That's it for tonight's Peter and Ruffy's football show. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care now.